email is the workhorse of online marketing, right? Providing more return than any other method, including social media, which it beats by about 4,000%.
Welcome to Game Changer, where you get the inside track to thrive and succeed in a decade of disruption. So be sure to subscribe at the bottom here and let's win this business unusual game together. Our guest today is Kim Albee, and she's the founder and president of Janu. She's pioneered a number of methods, tools, and processes to help small to medium-sized companies generate leads and convert them into customers through content strategy and marketing services. Today, Kim is going to share with us how you can leave ordinary marketing in the dust. Kim, it's such a warm welcome to you. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's just a thrill to be here.
Let's start off with Kim. You've been a pioneer. What do you think your own personal game changer quality is?
My personal game changer quality, I think one of the things that I did was I set out really early on to figure out this whole game of marketing and what really worked and didn't work and why. And combine that with my kind of interest in people and probably part of my spirituality. The thing that I've come up with that has worked across industries for our customers is something I call predictable engagement. And the easiest way to characterize it is most people are guessing about what the heck they can do to engage, have a responsive and warm list, right? They have their leads actually respond to them. And so they resort to all kinds of tricks and they're looking for tips and all of that. And what we did is we boiled it down and we have a methodology that has transformed email marketing into something that literally can provide predictable engagement and predictable results. And I think that I used to think, well, it's so easy, except for the fact is that 99.999% of businesses doing email marketing do not use what is right there in front of them that they could be doing.
Okay, so this word predictable engagement when it comes to email, you have to tell us more about that. That sounds pretty incredible for this thing that we're so used to, email, that seems so flippant and unpredictable. So please tell us a little bit more, Kim, take us a little bit into it. What are you doing that leads to this predictability?
Yeah, so it's actually one of the things that we started to look at was this whole notion of here we are in this digital world. And if you look at statistics, you can just go Google them and all of that. Email is the workhorse of online marketing, right? Even with all the unpredictability or how do I get to the inbox, all those sorts of things, it's still the workhorse providing more return than any other method, including social media, which it beats by about 4,000% in terms of conversions. So
Kim,
when you
4,000%,
yeah, you get 4,000% better conversions into customers from email than you do from social media. It's documented. So I'm not making that up. Anyone can go Google it.
Wow.
But the thing is that, but then even with that, you have people that are like, how do I do this? How do I actually keep my leads warm and responsive? And it seems to be this mystery, right? Mm-hmm. So what we started to do is we started to look at the digital world. And I started to question like, okay, I want to build a relationship. So if you're on my lead list, Carmen, I want to build a relationship with you. If you're in my target market, I'm out to make a difference and I want to get as many customers in my target market as I can, or I want to start to engage them in a way that my product or service can make a difference in your life. Mm-hmm. And so in doing that, I started to look at all the different email platforms out there and how many of them have the concept of a list. All of them. Mm-hmm. And we talk about our list and the size of our list. And what that does is it reduces every single person in that list to an object called this list that I have. And then I act on it as a whole, like the list that I have. And really, we lose sight of the fact that those are leads. Some of them are already customers, but it's like those are leads. And we lose sight of the fact that people are interested differently and they're interested in different subjects. So I started to look at tracking what people were interested in, and then bucketing people and making it super easy to target in to what leads are interested in. So imagine you get an email, you click through it, and the next email you get is an email that takes you further down that path of where you showed interest. Would that be novel?
That would be novel, yes.
Turns out that in most tools, that's pretty hard to do, but in sophisticated like marketing automation tools and our tools and things like that, we've made it easier to do that, but people still don't get the DNA or the roadmap of how to actually accomplish it. So we started to build out processes and practices and then started to use it across industries when we were working with our clients. And we learned that this is actually, we've made it easier and easier and easier to do, but we've also seen the results across industry and we call this tracking, we call it listening. So just like as we're talking, you say something and I listen and respond, and then I say something and you're listening and respond, and we have a conversation, that's actually possible to approximate in the digital arena with tracking and rules and smart actions and things like that. You can actually approximate this in the email realm. And so that's what we're talking about. And it doesn't have to be difficult. In fact, this is one of the most powerful uses of automation, is talking at scale to possibly hundreds or thousands of leads, but doing so in a way that each one feels like they're being talked to and listened to and responded to in ways that match their interest. So that's in a nutshell what we've kind of decoded.
In a nutshell. I love the way you put it, in a nutshell. There is so much that you've just shared with us, and I'm sure there's huge complexity behind all of this, but you've brought it into a software that makes it simple for your clients. Tell us what needs to be fed into this. So break it down for us a little bit, because I'm sure the software is doing a huge amount.
Yeah.
But so I'm your client. I approach you. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to deal with this list. I'm not getting results from it. I'm sending stuff. I'm getting no responses, no leads. What do you do with me?
Yeah. So first thing we do is we talk to you about, well, who's your target customer and your niche? So what do you do better than anyone else in the world? And what is your niche? Okay. And then what we do is we say, okay, so what are the questions that people have who are high up in the process that may not even know they have a problem? What are the kind of questions they ask? And as they start to discover this problem, what are more questions they ask as they work their way down through their buying journey, that process? So we start with just asking you that, because that's one thing that you probably know if you've already got customers and you've dealt with their questions and things like that. But it's something that's super easy to research and get your fingers on like nobody's business. So there's different ways you can actually research it and get to those questions, right? And as soon as you get those questions, then we say, okay, how do you answer those? What is it that's the prevailing wisdom, and how are you different? So what do people think about that? And then how are you different? So we start to distinguish, and we start to have them start addressing the needs, the interests of their target market, of those leads. So say we come up with 3 different ways they can make a difference. Like with email, I might be interested in better open rates. I might be interested in how do I get more click-throughs, or gosh, how do I even look at metrics to know that I'm making a difference, right? So those are 3 areas. And so we might come up with content that addresses each one of those areas. And we send out an email, and here's 3 links of great stuff that we thought would help you, right? And then we watch where they click. And based on where they click, we know exactly, oh, they're interested in opens. Oh, they're interested in metrics, like that. That's a simplistic example, but off the top of my head, that's what I've got. So that's what we can do. And we can automate that process. And as soon as that's automated, we then can start to look at what are the other things that people want to know in that little niche, in that little segment about open rates that somebody that just wants to know about metrics may or may not right now be interested in. So we can hone in on that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, and the beauty of this whole process is you come up with the top level content and you see where are people clicking. So first you want to start to bucket people. You want to start to learn where is it they're interested. So we start that listening right away. Okay. And that way you don't have to build out every thread and all your content because that would make your eyes roll back in your head and you're like, oh my God, that's right, way too hard. So you take that first leap and then you start to see what people are interested in and you look and you go to your biggest bucket and you say, oh my God, I've got tons of people that are interested in this. So what more can be said about that? And you can start to develop content there that funnels right to them. And then you can tackle another one, but you get more choice. And so the bucketing and the listening helps you design your content and what's needed so you don't waste your time throwing spaghetti at the wall to see if this will stick.
What intelligent email marketing? I'm trying to think if I've ever received an email that gave me sort of 3 options and then I chose something. Because if you think about content strategies and many different, pieces of advice that I've ever been received, it's like, what's happening out there? What's the trends? What's newsworthy? And then you start creating all this content that's like clickbait. What you're talking about is really intelligent marketing directly related to the services that you're offering and the problems your clients may have, which then enables you to. That makes so much sense.
I know, right? And so one of the things that we discovered was I was like, everybody knows this. This is so obvious. And then everybody was like you, they're like, oh my God. And I started to think about it and I'm like, well, it's kind of relationship 101. It's what we do in person. We listen, we respond, we talk. And so all I did was translate that into the digital arena in ways that make beautiful sense for doing and allowing you to do it at scale. So you don't have to have one-on-one conversations with everyone, which you couldn't do. You'd have a capacity issue. Of course. So that's, and I didn't realize that it wasn't just like, duh. You know what I mean? Like even today, I talk to people and they're like, the state of the art in email is batch and blast, even today. And even with large companies that have really sophisticated marketers, they don't know how to even operate and set up, for the most part, the automations that are needed. So entrepreneurs and small business shouldn't take heart or be daunted. What it is they need a methodology and a process that makes it all make sense. And that's what we went to work on. And then we built the tools to support that implementation so people could get that engagement and build an interest database, if you will, that helps them do the things they need to do and have the difference and make the difference with their leads. And it works. And I have industries I can point to where we've seen it work incredibly well, and it's different than the AI-based intent stuff that costs tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But it's super terrifically powerful when you employ it for pennies on the dollar, really.
And that's incredible too. I mean, you're getting such personalized it's intentional, it's personalized, it becomes predictable, and people feel heard. I love the listening. Do you find that it helps people then develop better products and services? Because this is surely directing their attention to what they should give higher priority to.
Yeah. So here's the interesting part. It could do that. What it points to is, where is it that people are showing their interest. And then you can be like, well, God, I didn't know that area had so much. I could approach my whole product and kind of twist, just make a little bit of a left turn, and oh my God, or I could name it differently.
Yes, of course.
So that would more appeal to the broader base of my audience, because I've had it focused over here when really this is the area that I should focus in. And we've seen that we have had clients that are so clear about what their thing is, what the keyword is that they need to go for. And we start there, but then we broaden it out as we do a bit of an initial content strategy with them. And what is interesting, in many cases where they have focused, nobody cares about. But some of the other ancillary things that we do, they get these huge like segments. And we're like, oh my God, just focus it this way. And boom, they get the customers, they get the sales, they get the things, because they had it oriented in a way that their brain was like, this is the thing. And we've worked really hard to get our SEO up, and we're getting all this engagement, but nobody's buying. And it's like, yep, that's because these are the things they really want to spend their money on. And they don't perceive that what you've got in this realm, it just doesn't get the same juice for them.
Sure, because we fall in love with our own ideas as entrepreneurs and our own messages. Correct. And what sounds sexy or trendy or whatever it is, catchphrases and stuff, not realizing that, but maybe that's not how our clients see it or say it.
Correct. So this is, like I love the word engagement, right? Like predictable engagement. That's it. And I had yesterday on my mastermind call, I had my client, I was just talking about an idea, and they said, Kim, I would buy every day if you told me how to keep your leads warm and responsive. I'm in. But when you say you want better engagement, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like even I fall into it, right?
Yes.
So it's what you can do to get that predictable, responsive behavior. Keep them warm and responsive. So now that's the thing that I've now adopted, is like, I call it predictable engagement, because you want predictability, but really it's about how do you keep your leads warm and responsive no matter what until they buy. And on average, it takes people on average 2 years to buy. So some take longer, some are shorter, but that's an average. So you got to think about, what does it take to keep people warm and responsive over that kind of a time period?
But when you see it, there's a different energy. So the predictable engagement it's clever, it's kind of, we fall in love with those kind of terms because we know what we mean by it. But to the client, they want the warm, the fuzzy, so there's emotion in warm, and the feeling is there.
Exactly.
And, really, really great. Kind of puts a whole different spin on content marketing, and why we battle so much to get good products heard and seen. It's because it's falling on deaf ears, potentially because we're not necessarily using the right words, or we're not getting that feedback, and people aren't able to listen.
Right.
And or even we don't necessarily have the tools to listen.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not about, and that's one of the other things that's a gotcha, is that we like to talk about what's important to us. And if we continue to talk about what's important to us, say you're at a party, let me put it to you this way. You're at a party and you strike up a conversation with somebody at the party, and they don't ask you anything about you. And when you say something that might give them an in to ask something or to follow a thread that you are interested in, they just keep going on their train of what's all about them. How long do you stay in that conversation?
Yeah, we don't.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the same thing, but we do that same mistake. And even on steroids, we do with email marketing, because we have this thing called a list. And we think, this is my message and I'm going to get them to do that, and then I'll know if I'm successful. So out it goes to everybody. And it falls on deaf ears. Same way that happens one-on-one in a party when you strike up a conversation and the person doesn't pay any attention to you.
Yeah,
so same thing.
Interesting correlation you've made there, because we don't quite think that this digital interface and this thing called email, it's actually like talking with a person, and you've actually got to mirror that engagement and treat it the
Right.
same way, instead of just blasting things and,
Right.
just.
And that's an evolution.
Yeah.
That's an evolution of email marketing, right?
Yes.
Because now with the advent of social media is one to many. Blast it out. Everyone gets the same thing. You can't really say, no, I want these guys to get this part of that, this way, the message and these parts. But email can be one-to-one at scale when you use automation well. And that's the thing that makes it different. That's where, every media that comes along has the potential. Everyone has the fear of it's going to be disintermediated by something else and something new. And that's where we get our shiny object stuff. But when you look at email marketing, it's still the workhorse of marketing, period. But then you look at what the potential of it is over any other media. And you've got this potential for one-on-one that can really make a difference. The only thing, and so that's the kind of thing that when you can master that listening and that response and the bucketing, and you can automate it so it doesn't just dominate you, because otherwise it'd be like, holy crap, how do I manage it? Now you've got a formula for warm and responsive that never dies, that never stops, that never gives up. And you start becoming known as someone who listens, that's interested, that gets your audience. How many more sales do you think you can make if that's your reputation?
What a reputation to have. Because, in a market that is just so noisy, you don't feel heard, actually.
Right.
Even, there's been some products and services that I've bought at top end pricing, and I don't feel heard. So
yeah. It's a fun thing, to have that, and then to make it something that you can actually implement, because that took us a while to decode.
Yes.
And yet the results you get kept us on that track, because it's like, if we can make it easy, if we can make it easier and easier and easier, and we can get the message out there, and we can give people this process that they can implement, then we've cracked the code. And everybody has this availability to do this, like to make that difference, to become known that way. And not everybody will do it. So the people that do are in a class of their own.
For sure. And it's kind of making, because you kind of almost start with all these different marketing mechanics out there. You start putting email on the back burner. And as you keep, showing us here is, hang on a moment, rethink this. When done properly, it gives you this really personal form of communication that's landing directly in. Okay, so there's the thing. How do we land these things in people's inboxes?
Well, there's a couple things. So we've looked at inbox deliverability for just really try to decode it. And we came up with that there's three key things. And they're about 30%. So think about 30, 60, 90 or 33, 60, like that. So the first one is, what IP is sending your email? So that's a technical thing. Every server on the internet has this unique address. So what IP is sending your email? And that IP has a sender reputation. That makes up about 30%. So 100 would be like, oh my God, stellar. 0 would be never going to deliver anything. Okay. Like, it's going to not even go to spam. It's going to get rejected if you're at 0. Sure. So just think of that continuum. Anything that's in the 90s is great. Anything below that, suspect. It's going to start moving over towards spam, right? So we started to look at and this is a secret. This is something where if you have Genu, or you have MailChimp, or you have ActiveCampaign, or you have any of those, you will not know what actual server, what IP sent each one of your emails. You will not know. They spread out across multiple different servers. You'll never know. So it's 30% of your score is that. So what you want to know is that the servers have good reputation. So that's one thing. And everyone says, oh yes, ours are the best. So it's a hidden thing, but it's something that you can pay attention to. The second thing, which is completely in your realm, is your email reputation on your email address. So that's the second thing, is like, what's that reputation? And that reputation is measured by how engaged people are who receive your emails. Do they reply? Do they click through? Do they open them? It's all three. And the click through and the reply are huge. So what we say is, like, I have a main email address. All of our emails go off our main email address, mine. And it's the one I use as business. That's my business email because I'm using it all the time. So imagine all the ways that when I was, asking you how, getting on this podcast, all that stuff, that's all engagement. Mm-hmm. So when you set up a separate email that's just going to be for your broadcast emails, which is what a lot of big companies do, and sometimes it's a no reply. What does that tell your customers? Yes. Do you want to hear from them, or do you just want to broadcast out to them? It's huge. So that's the second thing, is what's that you're using? And then that third piece is, are they opening? Are they clicking? Are they replying? So when somebody replies to an email that I send, I reply back, because all of it matters. All of it matters. So somebody's got to be receiving those in order to reply back. I will tell you that it's interesting, because when people get engaged with you and you start building a reputation, you've got this, it's like when you reply back, it means something, right? So I got this email, and it was from a bigwig in the marketing world, and it was directly from this person. And I thought, oh my God. And it was just really personalized, short little email, asked a question, signed, and so I replied, because I was like, oh my God, let me reply. It's this, I didn't even know he knew who I was. This is so cool. And I replied. And then my instant reply was, we've received your support ticket. Thank you very much. Someone will get back to you within 24 hours. And it's like, oh man, I was lulled in again. I thought he had sent me this thing, and really, he didn't even know who I was. It was just this email that went out, and it ruined all credibility for me with him, right? It just dashed it. Like, trust takes forever to build, and it's dashed in a moment. So you've got to think about that customer experience, that leads experience all the way through. And that's why we say, use your email address, like really send good emails. You only have to worry about it getting in trouble if you're starting to send spammy emails, and all of that. Then you don't want to use your email address, right? Because you aren't interested in really building that listening and everything. So our methodology says, use yours, use what you're going to monitor, have it be that you're building. And so that's one of the distinctions. So those are the three keys to making it to that inbox. And so all three have equal advantage. Like if you go off a really good IP, but your reputation on your email sucks, or nobody's engaging with them, pretty soon, if you go look, say you have a Gmail email, if you just go over to the spam folder and you look at spam, a lot of them in there are actually spam, but there's a lot of them in there that are things you did subscribe to, but you never opened. We call it the slow drift to the right? It's like they're going to go into that promotion folder. Then they're going to ultimately, if you don't engage with them, they're going to go into the spam folder, and Gmail will take care of that for you because they're watching your engagement. And Gmail delivers 60% of all domain email right now. So those are just a couple little things to keep in mind about it. There's other things about getting to the inbox, but those are the three key things that really make a difference.
And that's really it. It's so insightful and so good to know those things, because at least two of them you can do something about. And of course, once you start getting thousands of emails, obviously you just need a support team to help with managing those responses.
But you don't end up like, we have our email list is 54,000 big right now. I get like, maybe on an email send, I get a lot of out of office, which I put a rule for, and I move those out of the way so they're not just later in my email. But then I get like maybe 3-4 replies. That's it. It's like, it's even with that huge list, people don't necessarily reply, but they're clicking through, they're engaging. It's a different kind of a thing. So, and then you're splitting them. You're also splitting them and carving them into segments. So you're not sending, by and large, there's times when a batch and blast works, but by and large, you're doing this in different ways. So you have smaller sends going out. And it's just completely manageable. I've never, ever felt like, oh crap, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed ever.
Yes. Well, like you said, thanks for the clarification. It's not necessarily that they're responding, but they are clicking through. And that's what's important because that's what's been measured. So how do you give us a few tips for anyone in the audience that just thinks, crap, this sounds incredible, but I don't have a list. Like, I would love this, but how the hell do I just crack that one?
Right. So it's easy, right? So if you look at what I first said at the very beginning, and I said, what are the questions people have that are trying, what's the problem they have and what's your niche, right? And what are their, just write down, what are the top 10 questions? Now, based on that, can you create a cheat sheet? Can you create a checklist? Can you create a quick start guide that makes a difference in what you do? Then do it. And now you create a landing page with a form on it. They complete the form, an email kicks out of your system that goes right to them to deliver it.
Okay.
And I've got a gift for everyone here so you can actually see how that works.
That sounds fantastic. So, thank you. Thanks, Kim. And I'll definitely have that in the show notes then to link to that. So, and I'm assuming then to get people to that landing page, it's going to be via social media or whatever means you have to begin off with.
Sure. You just will post that link and you'll make it available. And as you talk to people, then list building opportunities would be things like find people that have a similar audience as what you need that are doing a giveaway and participate in it. Offer your free gift, your landing page. They'll, you might have to pay to be in the giveaway, but that might give you 300 leads. Now you've got a kickstart. Now you find out what they're interested in and you participate in another one. Perhaps you get on a summit, you'll get more leads because they're going to listen to your session. You see what I'm saying? So you start with a free gift and then look at ways you can get traffic that's your perfect potential customer to that free gift, whether it's a giveaway, whether it's a summit that you participate in. And giveaways are easy to start with. There's ones that let you do with no list, or a very small list. You can do it on social media. If you already have a social media following, put that out there. You won't get, if you have 10,000 in social media as a follower, that'll be less than about 100 people on a list. That's the distinction. It's like 0.5% response on social to get them off the social platform and to go out and even look at your blog post or your content or whatever that's off platform. So you'll have a smaller take, but if you've already been building social, you should be able to start and convert over that way as well.
Nice tips. Thank you, Kim. You just to kind of reiterate the power of what you're talking about. You deal with a lot of educators and you speak about being able to fill a class. Now, any of us who are in the business of putting bums in seats or eyeballs on screens,
right.
It's not an easy task. And what you're saying is with this kind of strategy, the predictable engagement, during this listening, you can literally, you've got clients who can fill classes with one or two emails.
Yeah. So what that looks like is we work with continuing ed organizations. So universities and colleges that have non-credit continuing ed departments or organizations within the college or university. So they're the non-credit professional development or personal enrichment classes that you can take at your community college, whatever. And so we have a number of those. That's a vertical for us. And so what their traditional thing is they'd send out a big, huge email saying, we just opened for the term and here's all our classes. Pick which ones you want. And that used to work for them about 7 years ago. And now they send that out and they get 0 registrations from that sort of an email. So they're looking at, well, what do we do? So we work with them. And what we did is we said, well, here's what we suggest. So they do the whole thing where they send out a broader email with 3 areas. So take cooking. So they have cooking, and then they might have cooking, canning, and sewing, for lack of a better thing. Let's look at personal enrichment for a minute. So say that's it. So they send out an email, and that because people might be interested in any one or all 3 of those, and they have neat links to each one. And then they watch where people go. And as they go look at things, we bucket them automatically with the partner that we're integrated with in the continuing ed registration space. And so those automatically get buckets. So now they have to fill a vegan cooking class. So they go to their segments and they go, okay, who looked at cooking? Specifically, if they've even broken it down to vegan, they might know that. But even people that aren't vegan, like me, might have neighbors like across the street that are vegan and we're going to have them over for dinner. So I may want to take a vegan cook just to, I might be interested if I had friends that were that way, right? So then an email goes out, but instead of it going out to say 15,000 people that are all undifferentiated, it goes to 125 people. 25 of them register. Class is full. There's a waiting list. One email. We have seen this happen over and over. And we've worked with colleges to do this so that once they get enough butts where the class is going to go, so it's going to run, it's not going to get canceled, then they have so many classes that if they fill these, all that money from that revenue drops right to their bottom line because they've already covered, they're already going to run it. So why not fill it? And that's where we have them focus. And we've had that happen over and over and over. And it's predictable. People can look at the class they really want to focus on. They can look at how to fill it. They can send 1 or 2 emails. Boom. The thing is full and they have a waiting list. They move to the next class. So that we have proven over and over in that continuing ed space. So when you understand and you can feed good content, you can get a lot of difference made. And we have that listening already set up. It's what we do when we first set up a new school that's going to use the system. We do all of that. So we know exactly. And then our metrics and emails will say not just opens and clicks, but we have what this email caused, and they can see how many registered from that email. And it's not the click from the email that registers them. It's a subsequent click and purchase. So our tracking pulls all that in, and we know that all got generated from that initial click in the email. So that they can actually measure it.
I've got this big smile on my face because as you speak, Kim, I mean, the passion and it just flows from you. You can see you just love the space and it works, and you've created a system that's creating magic, and you can just see the bubbling over when you speak about it. And but that's pretty cool to be able to send out an email like that and fill a class.
Yeah. Right. And during COVID, we had one school that the school thought, well, COVID is going to pass. It's just going to be this little blip, right? And so they didn't make any adjustments whatsoever. And they ended up canceling all their in-person classes, and they didn't really take anything online. So their continuing ed person was like, well, what do I do? There's nothing to even promote. So what she started to do is provide really good content. So she would provide recipes. She would provide wine pairings. She would provide all this stuff and then people started to get engaged in just the content. So when they were in trouble and then they finally realized, oh my God, this is going to be longer. They started doing online classes, and she literally had her segment set, and she knew who had clicked through all this content, but she had the responsiveness because she had provided all this great content. So when she sent an email out, she could fill a class just because they were all wanted to know, and she'd been giving them such good stuff that she could fill classes once she started having something to offer. And so that's how she kept the list warm while she didn't have anything to offer.
Yeah,
so that's also a neat lesson.
Yeah, it's what you're speaking about is just for me, the word that comes to mind is it's intelligent business. It's instead of scrambling and pulling your hair out and, oh my, what do I write today? There's just so much intelligence in it, and it's all based on what your clients need, which makes life so much easier. Kim, I asked you to share a wisdom with us. It's like a special mantra or philosophy or insight that's meaningful for you. So go ahead, drop it for us.
Right. Well, the wisdom really is implement predictable engagement. just implement it. That will be the biggest game changer for your business that you could possibly do. We've seen it over and over and over and over. The problem that most people have, that most businesses have, is consistency and knowing how to engage that audience. And when you implement the system, it helps you think of your new content. It helps you make sure the right message goes to the right person at the right time. It helps you understand even better how to position products and offers. I mean, when you get this foundational thing in place, it is a whiz bomb. It's a game changer for your business.
And from what you've shared today, I absolutely believe that. Yes, I think in my head for sure, you've notched up email, taken it up a few notches.
Yay, that's good. I like that.
What do you think is coming, Kim? What do you see coming that you would say, you really need to watch for this? As an entrepreneur, this is what I see coming in the maybe not even in years, but in the near future, and you really need to mitigate. So what is something, alert us to something that you foresee that is something concerning, and then on the opposite side, something that's really exciting that we really need to grab hold of.
Right. Okay. So concerning. The cost of not adapting. Let me explain. If I look at, if you just look at your life, how much more busy are you today than you were 5 years ago? How many more things are coming at you today than were 5 years ago, or even 5 years before that? That's not going to stop. So if you don't adapt and start giving people what makes a difference for them, you will quickly become noise in their world. And we're seeing it already. That's why there's so many people that think email doesn't work anymore, because you didn't adapt your strategies. Those strategies don't have to be hard. That's the myth. It's just that people haven't dialed it in. So that's what you run the risk of, is becoming irrelevant, because you don't adapt and make sure that the message you're sending your leads and the market you want to make a difference in can hear you. So that's the thing that I think is the concerning piece. And that's why I'm so passionate about having people see what's possible and giving it a go. So that's the concerning piece. Now, on the flip side of that, what's the opportunity? So opportunities that are coming, is that, and so on the opportunity side, imagine if I give you a strategy and you go, oh, but it's going to be too hard. But when I get you into it, you're like, oh my God, who knew it was so easy? Imagine if you could provide that for your customers. Make it easier, make it more accessible, lower the friction. And how much more will they love you? And how much more will you be able to make a difference in their life? So the opportunity, I think, is huge, but it's not about you. It's about you serving your audience. And through that service, you will be taken care of very nicely. And I think that's the thing you've got to keep in mind. But it's like, how do you make stuff easier, less friction, more, something that really produces that difference that you can make. And when you start to really grapple with that and continuously reinvent that and play with that, you're going to be golden. So they're the two things, and they both can be fueled by the first whiz bang thing that I gave you. But those are the things to really watch, is people are getting busier, busier, busier. So how do you continuously get in that? And you got to adapt to do it. And the same old practices are not going to cut it.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to have to learn to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe there's a different insight, or maybe you sum it up. If you were to give our audience some more whiz bombs in the form of a start and a stop, where, it's like to really make it, it's a tough game we're playing at the moment with so many disruptions. So what do you have to start doing right now? And what do you need to stop if you're still doing this?
Yeah, I would say start by being curious. So what you need to start being is curious about your audience, curious about those people, curious about what is it that makes them tick? What are they thinking? What is their perspective? The more curious you can get, the more you can fuel your products, your services, and your messaging, your content, what's going to matter, what's going to land. You'll start being the whisperer for your audience. Start with curiosity, not with what can I get them to do? What can I get them to buy? What can I get? How can I make a difference? What is it that's going to really make a difference with them? What do they need? What's missing? What can I do? Be curious. And then you'll be really welcoming your statistics and your metrics from all that you do, because I call all marketing a test. And curiosity about that, like, well, what had happened here? What happened there? And let me give you an example. I had, and this is again in the continuing ed space, but there was a guy at a college in West Virginia, and he had a professional development and a personal enrichment list. Never the twain shall meet. He did one or he did the other, but never mixed, right? And so I had him start to be curious. So he told me, he goes, Kim, I did what you said. I sent out, and this is way back, this was probably almost 8 years ago. The story's still relevant, but he sent out one of those batch and blast emails with, here we're open, here's the thing. And in the lower right corner, he included a sewing class. The sewing class was $50. His professional development classes, which was a professional development list, they're thousands of dollars, hundreds to thousands, right? And here's this little $50 class. He said, Kim, it was the second most clicked link in that email. And I said, okay. And he goes, that's horrible. And I said, why is it horrible? I go, let's go look and see what happened. So we went and looked and we dug into the metrics. Turns out not one person signed up for sewing class. Nobody. But of the people that clicked through sewing, because we can track what else they do after they do that first thing, 3 of them signed up for a $3,000 grant writing class that was not in the email at all. So that link made him $9,000 in that one send. And that was just getting curious and looking at but guess what? So then we started to say, well, why did that happen? Well, think about it. People work all day. They get home from work. They get your email. Do they want to think more about work? Maybe not. But hey, sewing could be interesting. Like, why not? That's kind of fun. So they click through the sewing link and they look at that. And then they start clicking around to other classes and they find something that they start to get more sensible about. Now that would be something I could use, because now they've relaxed. Bought the grant writing program. Who knows? We made it up. But he started to see, oh my God, there's these different correlations of how you might want to get in that conversation. And that shaped future emails going forward. And he had so much success with his email program because he was not a marketer. He was an enrollment manager, that he got promoted and then he got moved over to the main 4-credit campus.
Wow.
So, but it was all through curiosity that you start to make those correlations. That's what I'm saying. Start being curious, because it will fuel so much for you, rather than, oh, I can't do this. I don't get tech. I just don't know what to do. And I'm so overwhelmed. If you do that, you will be overwhelmed. But if you start getting curious, you open up your mind, like beginner's mind, to start learning and building new correlations that can be super effective for you. So start that. Stop. I would say the thing there is to stop is stop treating your list like an object that you're trying to get to do something. Give it up. Start serving them rather than trying to get them to do something you want them to do. You'll have some success, but you'll leave about 97% of them out in the cold. and you work so hard to get them, why not serve them?
Mm.
So stop doing that would be my stop.
Very powerful insights. Thank you, Kim. Each one can just see it's on a bedrock of knowing, of wisdom, of being in the trenches, of understanding, of case studies, and being curious. So thank you.
Yeah.
To close out our time together, Kim, what would you say the game changer difference is right now that our world needs, that could just, if we just did this, could elevate our experience as humans?
The biggest thing that I think gives life, and that sense of joy, is when you're of service and really making a difference. So we started over COVID. We continued our 3-day events and then we added a 12-week implementation intensive, not because it was a huge moneymaker for us, but oh my God, did it make a difference for the people who went through it. And we just gave of ourselves and looked at what are the things people need. And whatever it was, we looked at how could we deliver it. And what it did was it stretched us. It stretched each of us to really look and come from service. And it's so rewarding. But what you end up with at the end of that are people that are rabid fans, for one. And for two, you get to see what lands and what makes a difference. And how can you then refine that into something that you could take and move forward with and really grow. And so my biggest game changer difference, if I can say it, is in your heart, come from making a difference for that audience. I don't care if you're a marketer for a company, if you're with that company, how do you really make a difference for those customers that elevates the company in their eyes, that elevates your solutions in their eyes, that elevates where they are and the difference they can make by moving 1 inch in the direction they want to go, and start coming from service that way. And you'll have more joy, you'll have more love, you'll have more life, you'll have more all of that, and your business will take care of itself. The money will take care of itself. You keep that in your mind. You don't just throw it out and start doing stuff, because you're in business, right? But you think about, how can I be of service, and how do I create that experience? What can I do that would make a difference? And that's what we do. So we don't give things away for free, except for, our free gifts and things that we do. But our training, we never give away for free, because we've learned that people value what they pay for. So it's not, but yet we give of ourselves as much as we can when anyone becomes a customer, because that is the thing we want them to win. We want them to succeed. We want them to get the result. So come from that place.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. You're a fountain of wisdom, love, and service. And it's been such a joy, Kim, to hear when you speak. And this is what my greatest joy is, having these conversations. Because when you speak with people who are passionate about what they're doing and coming from a place of service and love, the way you have demonstrated, magic happens. So thank you for being here. Thank you for serving our audience with such love. And I'll make the freebie, that the gift that Kim has offered, available in the show notes. And wishing you just so much love and continued success, Kim, in what you do.
Yes, thank you. And likewise to you too, Carmen. Thank you so much for having me on here. And it's just a joy to having had this conversation. Was a lot of fun. So thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you to all of you who are with us and stuck around to the end of this. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining in with us. And go away, be curious, open up your hearts and serve and listen out. And find these tools that are, now we know that there are tools that can help create intelligence in our business and make it easier for us. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, for more game-changing insights like this every week. And please like if this was of value to you. So see you next time. And until then, sending you oceans of love.